Okay, welcome to 10 by 10, everyone. It's 10 tough questions on the 10th of every month. The chat is open, so please do ask any questions. If you didn't do it when you signed up, please do. And if you are drinking, please do Zoom responsibly. Let's start with just a thank you to a few people and that sort of thing, but I'll kick off with who I am. So Paul Armstrong, I own my own company. It's called Here Forth, and that is an emerging tech advisory that helps senior executives understand what's coming around the corner, what's around the horizon, and really what's going to impact them and that sort of stuff. I've run it for a few years, and 10 by 10 is just one of four as many events. They've got a wellness week, which starts next week, which has loads of events. So really good timing with Michael. Check them out. It'll be in the email that you get tomorrow, I think it is, and that sort of stuff. Fora, in case you don't know, is a co-working space. I like to say it's a luxury co-working space for adults. So you don't get people running around and just boozed out of their minds. So check them out if you want a safe hub when you're out and about and starting to get back to the office. Yeah, loads of new stuff. And if you're looking to get back to the office, their new standard document is one that I keep sending to clients saying this is best practice and that sort of stuff. So really good stuff in there as well. So check the website for that. I was asked just previously about recording. This is being recorded. Don't worry, we can't see you and that sort of stuff. But everything goes on YouTube and probably about a week's sort of time. But also you get an email coming to you tomorrow with the main sort of bits and also a few more bits of information. So make sure you look out for that as well. There are a lot of things to sort of get through today, but the biggest one is to talk about Michael Acton Smith. So he needs a little introduction, not going to lie. He's currently CEO and founder of Calm. Which is a ginormous, and we updated some figures just a moment ago, so I'll give you those in a second. But essentially the world's most prominent wellness app, which is going through some changes and sort of moving on and evolving, so we're going to hear about that today. But Michael's a big nerd for neuroscience, flow states, mental fitness, and sort of moving into sort of more of the health, which again we'll talk about a bit later as well. Before Calm, you might have heard of Michael from Moshi Monsters and Mind Candy. He was co-founder, CEO of that as well. Firebox.com also heralds him, Ping Pong Fight Club, Berwick Stock Music Festival, and that sort of stuff. He is an OBE, a creative force and a creative advocate for the UK and the world. And I'm reliably told by one of his good friends that he never does anything by halves. So I'm really looking forward to some deep answers today. Please join me in a one-person round of applause for Michael Acton Smith, but please do make some noise in your place as well. So yes.
Thank you. What an introduction, and what a musical beginning as well. Who was the friend that gave you that little tidbit, or is
that was your friend of mine, Katrina, who runs Fora. So checks in the post, I'm sure. How are you doing today? All right.
I'm very good. What a beautiful sunny day in London. It's been amazing. Blue skies. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm in the basement at the Great Eastern Street Fora, but I'm loving the harsh lighting on my head because got to turn it up for the podcast, as they say. Okay, right. I've got you for 30 minutes. The grilling starts now, as they say. You've been described as a rock star version of Willy Wonka. How important do you think your image is to your success versus, say, your history?
Goodness. You know, I didn't come up with that description, although I don't mind it. I think having fun with business, being colorful, being quirky is good. You know, so many people in business are a little sort of boring and gray. So I think it's definitely helped. When we went to Silicon Valley, no one really knew us. We were unknown entrepreneurs, so we didn't really have much of a history or background. And I think Calm is still in the very early days, but we're doing pretty well without any of that. So no one calls me a rock star Willy Wonka over there, sadly.
I would have thought that more people would over there, but interesting. So your career spanned like multiple industries, different areas, and you're moving into new ones, which we'll come on to a bit later. What's the biggest blessing, as the Americans like to say, and the biggest lesson you've learned thus far?
Biggest lesson? Oh, there's so much. You know, I've been running businesses since I was a little kid, driving my neighbors around the bend with my harebrained ideas. So learned many lessons along the way. I think probably the most important has been about deep focus. I think to do anything well in this world, you need to go deep. You can't just skip along on the surface as so many people do. And I remember a board meeting in the early days as an entrepreneur, and I was sharing all these wonderful, shiny object ideas I had for the business. And I thought the board would be so impressed. And one of them took me aside afterwards and said, Michael, the main thing is to keep the main thing the main thing. And I didn't quite understood what he meant, and it's crystal clear all these years later. You've got to focus on one thing, do it amazingly well before you start spinning off into lots of other things. So that's probably been one of the biggest learnings. And then blessing, gosh, so many blessings. I feel very fortunate, but probably my curiosity. I love reading. I love meeting new people. I love exploring and doing new things. So I think that's very helpful as an entrepreneur.
Okay, brilliant. We'll come back to that in a sec as well. Okay, let's go on to the monster that is Calm at the moment. You just updated me that you've got over 100 million users at the moment, and you're adding one at the moment roughly every second, so one user a second. You're part of a $4.2 trillion industry at the moment. What's your strategy for the next 100 million, and where do you start when you're coming up with those strategies?
Yeah, so connected to what I said a moment ago, deep focus was key. So we started, and our deep focus was meditation, and that's still the heart and the foundation of the business. But then we expanded once we thought we'd done a very strong job there into sleep, and sleep has been hugely successful for us. And now we're expanding beyond that. So we're exploring mental wellness as the next big frontier, and that covers so many different areas. And then ultimately, as you say, the $4 trillion health and wellness industry, we want to tackle and build the world's leading brand. So many different engines driving the growth of the business: our international expansion, our B2B growth, selling Calm into companies, creating lots of new content and celebrity partnerships. And then the final one I'd say is, could Calm live offline as products and experiences? You know, could we have a clothing range or a chain of hotels or an island where we create the world's most relaxing Calm Island resort? So big plans and ambitions for the future.
I'm very available to test any Calm islands that are on the horizon, and that's also I fully support a onesie as well. Right, so Calm's one of the few businesses that's continued to thrive during the period that we're in. COVID-19 still very much, you know, we've just had news over here. What trends have you seen via the app because of the data that you collect, and what surprised you over the last 6 months?
The mental health category has been growing rapidly over the last 2 years. You know, it's gone from something no one talked about, swept under the carpets, to something that many people are discussing. And I think that's a wonderful thing. But COVID has shone an even brighter light on this important area. I think everyone is waking up to this and realizing that looking after our mental health is just as important as our physical health. So we've seen a big growth in the number of people downloading the app. I think probably the biggest single change has been our B2B business. Companies reaching out to us, wanting to bring Calm to their workforce, to help their teams become more resilient, manage stress, sleep better during these very uncertain, stressful times.
Tell me a bit more about that. Like, what does that look like when it's, because Calm's an app that individuals can use and that sort of stuff. So do people, you know, does the company go, oh, I want 16 versions of this, or do they get bespoke versions? What does that look like? Yeah,
we're chatting to everything from startups with a handful of employees, where we'll give every employee a Calm subscription, through to Fortune 500 companies with hundreds of thousands of employees. And the company then offers Calm to their workforce, and people can download it and use it. It's the same product as we sell on the consumer side, but it's become a really valuable benefit for folks. And I think corporations and CEOs are realizing that it's not just a nice thing to do to look after our workforce and make sure they're healthy and stress-free and resilient, but it's great for the bottom line. It's great for retention. It's good for the business. So yeah, that's been growing very, very rapidly.
And are you going to be creating content specifically for the business area, or more for when you're at home, wellness and that sort of thing?
Yes, so that's something we're exploring at the moment. How can we create content that helps you with everything from improving your relationships at work, to managing stress, to emotional intelligence, to a whole host of different areas. So yeah, that's something we're developing a lot of content for at the moment.
Interesting. Okay. So let's move into a bit more sort of general sort of stuff, but feel free to add in anything you want about Calm ever. You just led a round for the Stealth Startup Humanity Inc., which is a health tech app for tracking key aging biomarkers, along with other things, to all focusing around reversing aging, which is a fascination for a lot of people. And I find it interesting that people are so interested in sort of reversing aging and that sort of stuff. which aligns a lot with where Calm's going, I think, what you've just said. So spill the beans. What made you invest in this company, and why are they going to see massive success?
Well, I've pulled back a bit from angel investing. Calm is so all-consuming that I haven't really been doing much of it. But every now and then something catches my eye, and I like Pete and Michael Gear. I think they're great entrepreneurs, and I love longevity. You know, it is connected to health and wellness. It is similar to Calm, and I just think that there's been a focus for many years on extending our lifespan, but there's no point living a long life if the last decade or two is unhealthy. Extending health span, I think, is really exciting. And we have so much knowledge now to improve every aspect of our life. Consumers have the internet at their disposal to research and figure out what they should be putting in their bodies, what exercise they should be doing, whether they should be meditating. And I think collectively, this is driving a lot of growth in this area. So I'm personally interested, and I think it's a great business category as well.
I'm always interested when people talk about extending life and then not fixing things like Alzheimer's. So it's like, oh, you've just got to live longer, forgetting like that you've gone to or not gone to the toilet or something like that. Interesting sort of stuff. Okay, so that sort of focuses on large topics that people are interested in, that sort of thing. Let's talk about the VC world, startup culture, and that sort of thing. We're hearing more and more that the startup culture has got more to do with success than your model or previous success and that sort of thing. How much do you agree with that? Do you think that most people sort of go, oh, well, he got it right 6 times, he's got it right the 7th, and that sort of thing? Or is it they always look at the investment?
This is a tough question, and this is why building startups and making them successful is so hard, because there's no one silver bullet. You've got to do a lot of things extremely well if you're going to succeed, and then you need a sprinkle of luck on top of that. I think culture is important, but I think your business model is extremely important as well. And I think an often under discussed area that is probably the most important of all is timing. It's critical. It doesn't matter how good your management team is or your big vision if you're playing in the wrong space at the wrong time. But you can have an average management team in a red hot sector that's growing like wildfire, and you will be blown along by the market. So I think being very thoughtful and very careful and deliberate about what category you get into at what time is probably the most important thing. I think surfing is a good analogy here. If you think of if you're too early to catch a wave, you're going to go nowhere. If you're too late, everyone else has caught it and they've sailed off into the sunset. You've just got to pick that moment. And when you do, it's extraordinary. And this is why I think we're having such an unbelievable ride with Calm, because our timing was just right. And this is just such a fast growing category.
Definitely. I like to say there are a lot of businesses that don't work in a pandemic. Yours definitely does, I think, and certainly after it as well, which will be because, a pandemic's one period, the aftermath of it as well, massive and that sort of thing. So, yeah. All right, let's get a bit sort of in the weeds and that sort of stuff. The VC world, full of interesting characters, let's call it. A lot are getting it wrong at the moment, but still getting very rich. From a founder perspective, how do we change that? And a lot of people say that, oh, things are cyclical, changes in 10 years and that sort of thing. Or is it impossible? Are these people always just going to be there? Is it just the rich get richer? Talk to me about Silicon Valley. Where's it going?
Well, there's a big question. I think it's having a bit of a bumpy time currently. California is incredible. I've lived there for almost 5 years. Alex Chu, my co-founder, almost a decade. And my goodness, we've met some extraordinary people. We've learned a lot. But it's like a lot of places, it's not perfect. And there's a lot of inequality between the haves and the have-nots. There's a major homelessness problem. There are wildfires at the moment. There's some big challenges there. But it is the epicenter and is the start of venture capital, risk capital, which is still leading the world. And I think there's a lot of capital there, and there's a lot of people willing to deploy it on risky speculative ideas, which is what entrepreneurs need. And so I think the rest of the world is catching up, but it's still an epicenter for that. And then you have what I think is also very important is in these ecosystems, and we're starting to see this more in London now, is second and third time entrepreneurs who've made their money from a hit and now starting to put and invest back into the ecosystem with an entrepreneur's mindset. And I think that's really valuable. That's a great accelerator for an ecosystem.
Interesting. Yeah, I like that a lot. I still see a lot of like people putting in money after other money and that sort of thing. And I was like, I want more people with different experiences to come in, because at the moment it seems to be like the same level of people or different, we're just cloning sort of people and that sort of thing, not necessarily solving different problems for different people and different experiences. But definitely there's a change afoot and that sort of thing. I think Asian investment is really pushing that in different directions. Is that something you would agree with?
Yeah, I certainly would. Yeah. And I think more diversity in the VC community will be great. More investments into diverse founders and teams, I think will be very valuable. And I think because we're living in a COVID world and spending so much time on Zoom now, I think this will be great for diversity, because it won't just mean VCs are investing and meeting folks in a sort of 50-mile radius of their office. They will be taking calls from entrepreneurs all around the world. And I think that can only be a positive, healthy thing.
Yeah, definitely. I hope so. That's for sure. I hope they just won't play it safe, So, okay, back to you a bit. What's the biggest mistake you've made when it comes to your career, and what did you do as a result?
Again, like lots of learnings, there are lots of mistakes along the journey. I think, when you're trying to do something new and you're playing on the edges, you're going to get things wrong a lot more than you get it right. And I don't think you can beat yourself up too much for that. Whatever doesn't kill you makes you stronger. So I've definitely made decisions that in hindsight, I wish I hadn't. But at the time, with the available information, I don't really regret any decision I've made. I mean, if I had to name something, I think with Mind Candy, I probably hired too quickly and grew the cost base too fast and wasn't as thoughtful about that. I didn't manage the transition from web and flash-based kids gaming to mobile gaming as well or fast as we could have done. Again, if I could do it again, I'd do it differently, but I played with what I had at the time and did my best. And all those learnings have contributed to, the new businesses that I'm working on and the new decisions I make.
A lot of your apps are full of gamification and sort of nudging and that sort of behavioral science. Would you say that has been your biggest focus and like area of success, or do you think it's that, I don't know, you just understand people on a different level? What do you think sort of impacted more?
I don't know. I think there's a number of different things. I love the creative aspect of business, and so does Alex, my co-founder. The sort of the left field, quirky ideas, and there are thousands of meditation apps out there, but Calm is the number one, and I think it is because we have been very forward thinking with our ideas and the way we've kind of taught meditation, made it simple and accessible, and brought on celebrities and others. I think Alex and I are both good at connecting with people and figuring out hiring is so critical, bringing on board the right people, convincing them to join your tiny team with this huge vision. Very, very difficult to do. But if you can bring on those people, if you can inspire and motivate them, then you go forward together and build awesome teams. And I think we've been pretty good at that. But Calm has just such a mix of different things we've managed to get right. We have, I think, a world-class user acquisition team, which is critical. It doesn't matter how good your app is. If you don't have the UA expertise, no one's going to know about you. I think we're very good at branding, which is something that is not such a strong skill set in Silicon Valley, but I think it's very important when playing in a category like this. So yeah, a bunch of different things that have all contributed, not one single spike.
You've mentioned hiring a few times. What are your red flags when it comes to people, or things that you look for?
I love hiring for attitude. A resume is interesting, but there's nothing quite like connecting with someone and just seeing their enthusiasm and their passion and their energy. And I love taking bets and risks on people that, maybe haven't done something before, but you give them a shot. So it doesn't always work out, but when it does, it's incredible. So I think that's something we always look for.
Okay, bit of a pie in the sky one. Imagine you've got a magic wand, okay? What's the problem you solve first that no one's thinking about, and why did you pick that?
Well, I think there are a lot of challenges and problems in the world. There's a lot of very positive things and a lot of great progress as well, even though we might not feel that listening to the 24-hour 24/7 news cycle. There's many known problems, from climate change to homelessness to inequality. The one that I keep coming back to, and it is becoming more known now, and is obviously very close to our heart, is mental health. And I think if you start there, especially with children, helping people understand their own brains, their own emotions, their own feelings, improve their emotional intelligence, the way they connect with others, that I think is a first order problem that can solve so many other downstream problems in the future. If we do lead more mindful, thoughtful, caring, considerate, compassionate lives and treat other people better, I think we will have so many positive future knock-on effects. So that's why we're very passionate about solving this problem. And we think it's, we're not going to stop until we've connected with 7.5 billion people, because everyone that has a mind, we believe, can benefit from what we're doing.
It's really interesting. I read when I was doing my research and that sort of stuff, you didn't practice meditation like until literally before just starting Calm, I think.
Yeah.
What was your epiphany moment, and sort of what are the indicators that you were like, oh, this is a thing, this is the future, this is me for the rest of my life?
Yeah, Alex had got into meditation many, many years before me. He was a teenager, so in just outside of Swindon, so a very unusual teenager getting into that. And for me, it took a lot longer for the penny to drop. And I think that's been helpful in that I can approach this with more of a kind of mainstream mindset. I thought it was, if I'm very honest, I thought it was a little bit woo-woo. I thought it had religious connotations. I thought it had all this just weirdness. I didn't understand it. And then I read a lot of books and research papers, and Alex finally nudged me enough times for the penny to drop and for me to go, wow, this is not about woo-woo and incense. This is about neuroscience. This is about rewiring the human brain. It's about helping people understand what's going on up there with the 90 billion neurons and trillions of connections, and allowing us to lead better, more thoughtful, more mindful lives. And that improves everything. It improves our sleep. It improves our work. It improves our relationships. So that was a real special moment for me. And developing a meditation practice has probably been the most valuable skill that I have developed in my life. It enables me to see the world differently. And yeah, so we're both very passionate about spreading this to the world. And then all the other things that Calm does that is connected and adjacent to that, as I say, from sleep to the music we create, to the kids' content, and on and on.
Couple of questions. What do you think, let's talk about kids for a while, that sort of thing. So how, obviously lots of kids at home, not going to school, they're going back in some places, some will get shut down and that sort of thing. What advice do you have for parents? I've got a question when it comes to helping kids meditate.
Yeah, so I think the lockdown has created a newfound level of respect for teachers in the world. All these parents trying to homeschool. It's not easy. Kids do not want to sit still and meditate. It's a little unnatural for them. What I think is great is we're starting to see it happening more in school. And meditation doesn't need to be sitting in a certain way with certain gowns and clothing and doing it for an hour or two. It can be as little as one conscious deep breath to start the school day for children, and then you can expand from there. Or one area we've had a lot of success is around sleep stories. Kids love to listen to tales at night, mixing music and sound effects and beautiful stories where we weave in mindful concepts as they're drifting off to sleep. So that's been quite an exciting area. But this is something we're very passionate about. There was a great Dalai Lama quote we saw years ago that said, if we could teach every 8-year-old in the world how to meditate, we could eradicate violence in a generation. And I thought that was a pretty profound, powerful statement. And so we decided to make Calm free. We're just about to relaunch it, but make it free for every teacher in the world, because I think bringing Calm into classrooms will have tremendous positive effects for the world over the next few decades.
Oh, wow. Okay. That's huge. That's massive. Which again extends your user base and that sort of thing. Just on one of the attendees has a question. Can people bring Calm into their site as a referral channel? Is that where you're going with it? So everyone can just refer people through it, or?
You mean, say that again, bring it?
So the question is, can I bring Calm into my site as a referrals channel? So I assume, is there a referral program?
We don't currently have an official referral program. I think it's something we should do in the future. So yeah, we've done a little bit here, but I think we could do more in this particular area.
When it comes to, just on that question, when it comes to user acquisition, and that's the thing, obviously a lot of people are asking me, like, ask him how he got his 100 million. And that's the thing. What was the biggest thing that was like, oh, wow, I did not think that would work when it comes to user acquisition for you? It doesn't have to be Calm, but probably Calm is the one they're asking about.
Yeah, Alex Chu is the world-class master at this. He's a viral genius. He created the $1 Million homepage and helped that go global. One of the early ideas before Calm actually launched was something called do-nothing-for-2minutes.com. And that was how, that was Alex's idea, and it got us our first 100,000 email addresses, and it went super viral. You had to look at a screen with waves on and do nothing for 2 minutes, and then you could share it with friends, but it was surprisingly hard for people to do. So we're big fans of just the slightly left field, quirky, unusual. Calm grew to about 8 million downloads before spending a penny on marketing. So there was obviously, that was a good signal that there was something here. There was something in the cultural zeitgeist that was blowing us along. And then we have a brilliant leader of our growth team, Dun Wang, who they obviously understand Facebook and Instagram and all these digital channels extremely well. And yeah, we run that side of the business very, very effectively. So we're roughly kind of half organic and half paid at the moment. But yeah, lots of quirky left field ideas. Harry Styles was huge for us. That brought in hundreds of thousands of new downloads. When GDPR came out, we decided it was so boring, we'd turn it into a sleep story and got hundreds of articles written about it. We found the teacher from Ferris Bueller's Day Off, who has a really droning, boring voice, and got him to read a sleep story. So these were all pretty unexpected for a so-called meditation app, but they helped fuel our growth tremendously.
It definitely puts you in a different sort of category to people when they approach talking with consumers. And I think that's a really interesting part that a lot of startups miss, is they miss their tone of voice, or they miss their real sort of like calling, is to be like, you should be this cool, or you should be this serious, you know, and that sort of thing. I think it's kind of interesting. Just in the sort of, what do you call it, exploration-y type place, are you guys moving into VR at all?
We've looked at it. We created a VR experience, and I love VR. I think it has tremendous potential, but it's just too early from our perspective. So going back to the surfing analogy, I don't think it's the right time to catch that wave and invest in it just yet. But something similar to that in the future, when we start to see a few more signals, will be an area we go to. And this is why building a brand is so important. You know, Calm is very dominant on in the mobile ecosystem at the moment, but if that changes and there's new dominant platforms, then our brand will hopefully be able to move to those when that time is right.
Final bit of advice. What do you have? Two bits of advice. If you're before funding, what's the best bit of advice for a startup? And then if you've got your first round, what's your best bit of advice for a startup?
Well, I think there's kind of, from my experience of running a few different businesses, I think there's 3 stages. And this is why when you hear advice from entrepreneurs, you've got to take it with a pinch of salt, because it depends what stage they're talking about. The first stage, I think, is before you get to product market fit. And at that stage, all that really matters is getting to product market fit. Don't get distracted. Just do everything you can, as many tests, as many cycles, move very fast, get there. The next phase, I think, is where you start spending on UA and the marketing aspect and getting very, very sharp at that. And then the later phase is where brand becomes more important, where you start building a multi-billion-dollar business and try and figure out what the essence is of what you're doing and how you can help consumers fall in love with it and build a long-term, multi-year relationship. So I could talk about that for hours and hours more, but that's a kind of very short, a short synopsis of the 3 stages of startups.
One more question, then I'm going to move in. You've got to answer something for me then. So there are lots of what do you call it, supplements and things that you can take to aid sleep, and a lot of people go the very chemical route and that sort of thing. Motion Nutrition are in the virtual goodie bag that we give to everyone who's attending this today, and they're not in that sort of thing, so they're nootropics, so they literally just help you drift off and stay under and that sort of thing. Very cool. Are you moving in that any direction? You know, Calm, you know, app plus, you know, what do you call it, either nootropics or something else. It's quite an interesting sort of area. CBD is a big one, for example.
I didn't realize there was a goodie bag for this session. I hope I get one as well.
We give in so many ways at 10 by 10.
I hope there's a Calm subscription in there. If not, if anyone listening would like a Calm subscription to check it out, hit me up probably on LinkedIn after this, and I'll get you one. So we thought about nootropics and vitamins and supplements. I think it's an interesting area. My buddy Dan Murray is running a great business called Heights, which is all about brain health. It's not an area we've gone deep into at the moment. I think you've got to really know what you're doing and do it at the right time. So with the idea of focus, we're very deep still in the digital space. And then I think once we're a bit further down the line, then I think we'll start exploring more physical offline products.
I think that's a fascinating opportunity. If you're thinking of offline and that sort of stuff, I think it's a really interesting way of, two things together, very powerful. And that sort of thing. Okay, you have an option now. This is not something we've talked about before, but if you've watched the video we've done before, you might have an inkling of what's coming. You have a choice. You can do quick fire, or you can do word association, you get 20 words. What would you prefer to do?
Wow. Well, it depends what the quick fire is on, but I'll probably go for that, please. Is there a prize if I answer them all correctly?
We'll determine how well you answer. All right. Is that fair? Okay. Right. Okay. So it's roughly a minute, or when we finish next thing. So
right.
Are you ready?
I'm ready. Hang on. Let me take a deep breath.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's do this.
We all should have started with that. What we
should, shouldn't we? Yeah.
All right. Okay. Best meal you ever had?
The best meal I ever had was probably Pizza Express. I love Pizza Express.
You've got 10 minutes free. What do you do? I think I know the answer.
I should say meditate, but probably do exercise.
Apart from downloading Calm, what's the best bit of advice everyone should implement today?
Don't turn to your phone when you first wake up in the morning.
What's the biggest issue your business has right now?
Hiring and finding extraordinary people.
What social stigmas does society need to get over?
I think psychedelic drugs, that they are not necessarily bad, but they could be the secret to curing so many mental health issues hiding in plain sight right in front of us.
What's the one thing about your job that sucks?
Having to answer quick-fire questions like this when I should be working.
Donate your body to science or organs to people?
I think science would have probably more leverage.
Technology you have most hope for?
I would love a flying car, please.
Okay. Would you rather soil yourself once a day or have your past and future web browsing sent to everyone in the room?
Oh my goodness, what a question. Probably the latter.
Okay. Ask permission or beg for forgiveness?
Definitely beg for forgiveness.
Climb a mountain or jump from a plane?
Climb a mountain.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how good are you at keeping a secret?
8.75.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how good are you at lying?
7.5.
Oh, okay, the pause was everything there.
I play poker, so I should be better. But
biggest inspiration?
I think Richard Branson is awesome.
Most underrated person?
Goodness. My mum, who raised 2 awesome kids.
Love it. Fill in the blank. Facebook is a company that needs to
get better at its communications.
Okay, the big one. You've got to kill one, kitten or puppy.
Oh gosh, what kind of question is that?
So it's the men from the boys.
Can I use my joker and pass on that one?
Okay, but you've got to answer. Beyonce or Taylor Swift?
Beyonce.
Amazing. Michael, I can't thank you enough. Thank you for your candor and thank you for your honest responses. I think you are an absolutely amazing individual who's done so much in their life as well, but definitely moving forward. I'm really excited to see where you take Calm. Thank you again for your time. I will be watching you closely and I look forward to hopefully hosting you at TBD in the future. But there are a few more things to just mention before I jump off. So thank everyone for their attention as well. Really appreciate it. I know it is 6 o'clock and we do that for a number of reasons to catch US and that sort of stuff. But drum roll, please. The next 10 by 10 will be the CEO of Moo, Richard Morose. He is founder and CEO of the tiny company that turned over 135 million last year. Paper products, actually just come out with paper masks, really interesting. Face masks and that sort of stuff. Really weird time for them, but it'll be interesting to hear about their future, where they're going. So that one's on a weird one because the October doesn't have a 10th that is, as I like to say, work friendly. So it's going to be on October the 13th, but the questions will be just as tough, if not tougher. So have a fantastic...
He's a great entrepreneur for anyone listening and a good friend. So I'd highly recommend tuning into that one. He's much more interesting than me. So
you'll have an interesting off. I love that as well. Okay, so have a fantastic evening. Make good choices. The virtual goodie bag will come over in an email tomorrow. There's lots of stuff and we'll connect you guys with calm. So please don't harass poor Michael on LinkedIn. I'm sure he's busy enough on there. Just before we go, it goes without saying, please do drop a tweet to people using the hashtag 10by10, spelling it out. Let them know what an amazing time you had. And if you want to get in touch with Michael, he's on all social platforms and ready and rearing to help from you. Can't thank you everyone enough. Michael, again, thank you for your time. Really appreciate it, and stay well.
Awesome. All right. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.
There you out. Have a good one.